other than going back to drama teaching, I just, and I really pity his students even on that.
The chaos continues here in Canada. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David, and today's top stories here. We've got Justin Trudeau. We know he went down to America. He talked to Donald Trump. He's come back now, and he's had a meeting with all the other opposition leaders. With that, Pierre Poilievre scolded him because Pierre warned him. He told him about this months ago. He put out a plan saying you should be hiring more border officers. You should be doing all this stuff at the border. Trudeau did nothing. He just kept on sending our money over to the Congo and other places in Africa. And now we're in this situation. With that, we have national news around the world in America and Australia, other places, humiliating Justin Trudeau. We've also got a panel on CBC who tries to defend Trudeau. It's really pathetic. They try to smear Pierre Poilievre. What else would you expect from CBC? We've also got a panel on CTV that's talking about the Confidence Day motion. Jagmeet Singh, he's come out and said he's not supporting it, even though it's his own words. What a disgrace. Let's jump into this.
So put up or start paying up. Is this how to get deals done as tariff threats get world leaders to the table? Let's get the read from a guy who knows a lot about making deals. Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures and Shark Tank investor. Kevin, great to see you. I feel like I see you all the time because you're on my house morning and night. My 9 and 11-year-old totally obsessed. They love to watch you make a deal. So is this proof that this is how you get deals done, Kevin?
Yeah, it's an important development, but these China, Mexico and Canada are completely different in this respect. We know with certainty we're going into NAFTA 3 negotiations. And Trump is smart about this. He's obviously engaged both leaders in both countries. There are different problems in each place. Canada is a huge trading partner, particularly in energy. A huge percentage of energy imported in the U.S. that gives it energy independence comes from Canada, particularly from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. So that's part of the negotiation of NAFTA 3. I think he's positioning. Now, the complexity in the Canadian situation is this. Justin Trudeau is wildly unpopular in Canada. He's been there a long time in the parliamentary system, just like Britain. If you have a prime minister that can't deliver a majority mandate, it's like a piece of old moldy cheese in the fridge. You want to get rid of it. And that's what's going on within his own party.
Did you just compare Trudeau to moldy cheese on national news?
He's surviving these votes. And in fact, there's another one today at 4 o'clock that he'll probably survive. This is a non-confidence vote. That's how they do it in the parliamentary system, to throw the bum out, so to speak. But he won't lose that till around February 15th. So my point.
So that vote was pushed back. That's the Conservatives' non-confidence vote, but that's pushed back to Thursday now, and there'll be one on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, because they all have to get done before the end of the session here for Christmas. And I do believe the one that's happening on Thursday is the one where it used Jagmeet Singh's words.
Point is, it won't be Trudeau negotiating with Trump when he's finally in power after January 20th. It's going to be someone else. And I think Trump is smart enough to. So this is a lot of showboating right now, but it's just showing you how powerful he is. Just to put it out, this is policy by social media, and he's got leaders flying to Mar-a-Lago. He doesn't have to go anywhere. He doesn't have to go to the cold weather. He just stays in Florida. Interesting.
Well, we know he's not shy about getting on a plane to go get something done, but will he need to is a big question, of course. This is Canada, Kevin. We're already seeing he's bolstering their border security after these Trump talks. This is according to Canadian officials, so perhaps the preparations are already underway.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Canada should do that for both directions. They should have a secure border. Every country should have that, and I'm sure Trudeau can guarantee him he'll do something. But what's going on, there's a bit of a war in Canada. For example, Alberta wants to be part of this reigniting the Keystone pipeline, and of course Trump needs Alberta to do that. That's where the oil originates from. So already that premier is talking about boots on the ground in the Alberta North Dakota border. All of that stuff is happening simultaneously. There's so many moving parts. I absolutely love it. But at the end of the day, when you've got two partners with so much commerce, so much invested in economics with each other, they're going to work it out. They're going to figure it out. But it may be different players than what you saw over the weekend in Mar-a-Lago. That's all I'm
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Pierre Poilievre. The key thing to note here is America needs our oil. So if they put those tariffs on, then, well, I'm not sure what Justin Trudeau would do, but counter tariffs would be the typical thing to do, which would dramatically hurt America. So really, this shouldn't happen. But that's Trump. He's a strong businessman. He's got Trudeau by the kahunas, if he has any, and he's squeezing. He's taking full control here, and Trudeau is bending to Trump. That's what we're seeing. Kevin is just honest. I respect him. I wish Trump would invite Pierre to a talk. I think it would help. I don't think Pierre wants those optics right now. Why is it just 10% for China? That's a great question. Old moldy cheese is the politest description for Justin Trudeau, destroyer of the great country of Canada. That is so true. O'Leary would make a great finance minister in Canada. He would. Next up, we got a post here by Donald Trump who's trolling Trudeau. I thought this was an interesting caption here by John Paula here. It says, I'm convinced that there's something to all of this. It's no coincidence that Trump would make a joke. He's talking about Trump saying Canada can be the 51st state of America if Trudeau can't get things under control here, and Trudeau can be the governor of it. Nor is it a coincidence that the news of this leaked. Everything seems tactical right down to the hotel accommodations. Now this ambiguous post. What's kind of funny about this is the Matterhorn in Switzerland. But with that, we have quite the recap here on America openly calling Justin Trudeau blackface on their news report.
Last week, Trump made clear that his tariff threats are going to become a reality for any country that isn't pulling its weight. For Canada and Mexico, that means a 25% tariff on all exports if they don't crack down on the drugs and migrants bum rushing our borders. Justin Trudeau knows Trump means business. So he took a flight down to Mar-a-Lago on Blackface Friday to prove he is ready to play ball.
That's savage.
It was an excellent conversation.
And Fox has exclusive details about how that Mar-a-Lago sit-down went. The two talked tariffs over crab cocktail and oysters. At one point, Trump told Trudeau to get our trade deficit under control, telling the prime minister it is unacceptable for the U.S. to run up to like $100 billion trade deficit. And if they don't, they can expect a flat 25% tariff on all Canadian goods day one. Trudeau apparently wasn't thrilled. Sacre bleu, you will kill our economy, he said. Then Trump said if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S., they're free to join America as our 51st state. And when someone at the table pointed out that that would probably be a pretty Democrat state, Trump says we'll split Canada in two, the conservative side and the liberal side, to keep it fair electorally. And if Justin wants to stick around, he can be Canada's governor. Everybody laughed, but most importantly, it got results. Canada's ambassador to the United States says the country's already talking about beefing up their border security. Watch.
What's the biggest thing that Prime Minister Trudeau promised President-elect Trump that he will try to achieve in the next few months or year?
I think that it's more infrastructure. So more surveillance, more helicopters, potentially more infrastructure at the border. Again, these are things that we were thinking of doing on our own anyway, just because secure borders are essential.
No, you weren't. The Liberals weren't going to do anything until Trump forced them to.
But I think now we're going to be able to talk a bit with the incoming administration about how we coordinate on that.
Oh, yes. They were already planning on securing the border all along. They just didn't get around to it, so Trump told them to.
What an absolute joke that is. Next up, we've got an American broadcast here where they're talking about the advantages of incorporating Canada into America and our resources, our wealth, all that kind of stuff.
Let's just be clear. We're not going to make Canada the 51st state. We'll make it 51 and 52. You make Western Canada, that'll be Republican. Eastern Canada, that'll be Democrat. So you keep the electoral balance there. So many reasons to make this a state. I think, has the third largest oil reserves in the world.
Oh, a lot.
So that makes us an energy behemoth. It's the most well-educated country in the world because we need a little help in that department. Talk about mining, agriculture, fishing, AI, tech, real estate, Canada, you name it, they got it. We'll never probably lose another Winter Olympics. We'll have all of their skaters and skiers. Wow. I mean, good luck, Sweden. And they share our cultural heritage. They share our language. It's just a no-brainer. Now, I don't know if Canada is going to go along with it, but there's ways to maybe change their opinion.
Do you want to end it there?
I'll end it there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
The Army's minuscule, but that's fine. We'll pay to protect them as a state. But we're doubling the size of the country, America. Think about it.
Thank you, Jim.
Next up, we got Australian news just absolutely wrecking Trudeau. This is hilarious.
Douglas, what do you make of Justin Trudeau's attempts to cozy up to Trump after taking veiled shots at him for several years now?
Well, it's typical of the undiplomatic diplomacy, which we've discussed before about other countries when it comes to Trump. You know, if there are two people running for office in your nearest ally, it's very unwise to repeatedly lie about and make false claims about one of them. And that's whichever way around you'd like to play it. It'd be very unwise for people like Trudeau or the Labour Party in Britain or in Australia or anywhere else to have insulted one of the other candidates in the election. As it happened, the one they chose to insult is the one that happens to have won. So it's rather delicious watching, rather more delicious even than dinner, I'm sure, watching the bimbo Trudeau trying to now make up for his undiplomatic diplomacy. As for being governor of Canada, all I say is, Justin Trudeau has been such a hideous prime minister of Canada, I wouldn't trust him to be governor of anything. Other than going back to drama teaching, and I really pity his students even on that. I don't know what Trudeau is good for. He's a narcissistic little playboy who has been vastly overpromoted above his competency. And the only person who doesn't seem to realize it is him. But the Canadian public have a great opportunity quite soon to wave farewell or to steal a line to turn the page in Canada.
Feels bad for his drama students. This is savage here, Douglas Murray.
Turn the page, yes. I love your line about Justin Trudeau. I think you called him once the Prince of Performative Caring, and I think that sums him up beautifully. And if the polls are right, his days are numbered. So I don't think
that does really sum him up, performative caring.
Trump needs to worry too much about tariffs discussions with Justin because he's on the way out.
Trump made Trudeau look like a child. I'm Canadian, Trudeau must go. Playboy, he went to a Taylor Swift concert. He's a 15-year-old spoiled girl. I'm Canadian and can tell you 4 out of 5 of us despise Trudeau. Or you might say 8 out of 10 of us despise Trudeau. From the secret meeting that Trudeau had with Trump telling the other leaders, this is what they had to say.
This afternoon in Ottawa, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau held a rare meeting with all opposition leaders to brief them on his dinner with President-elect Donald Trump. It was a meeting that was supposed to unify them around a Team Canada approach to Trump's tariff threat, but instead seemed to be sidelined, at least a little, by some partisan politics.
We demand that the Prime Minister fix the disorder that he's caused at the border, fix the immigrations problems that he has caused, but he also has to reverse the job-crushing tax increases that he's imposing right now.
Pierre Poilievre did not give that impression that he had this desire to protect Canadian jobs. For him, he was still trying to score political points, even when there's no cameras. So I don't understand his approach.
We're trying to pull together as Team Canada, but I guess Mr. Poilievre can't help himself from trying to say in a private meeting the things that he objects to about government policy. So that really wasn't the room to be starting to argue about carbon taxes.
There's a lot of funk in the swamp here, and we need to flush out this swamp. Jumping over to this broadcast on CBC, I'm just going to play a few clips for you to show how scathing this is. They're trying to paint Pierre Poilievre as this bad guy who's against Canada. He's not Canada first. So what this lady is saying is that people are looking at Poilievre now, and they'll be judging his character. He's not ready to be prime minister. He can't be, because his character.
That is so crucial and weighs so heavily on the Canadian economy. People are seeing this not as something theoretical, not as something that happened in 2016 or 2020. It's happening now, and they're judging people's character. It's not even about policy. It's people's character.
They're judging people's
that they're judging right now.
Sorry, I fundamentally disagree with that. The plans that Mr. Poilievre have are actually to fix what he actually pulled back on as part of his government with Stephen Harper. So, all of these things about reinvesting and all that, well, who cut all that? That was Stephen Harper and his government.
10 years ago, yeah. So she's the only one on this panel. I'm surprised they bring her on. She's the one straightening them all out. all these woke losers they bring on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So is he
So
proud of that? He's not quite standing up for the fact of why he actually kind of cut back on all
If
of
the
that.
Liberals want to fight the next election about cuts that were made 10 years ago, I wish them well. I'm sure that Conservatives would be happy to have that debate. I don't think Canadians are panicking because they are looking at what Pierre Poilievre has to say today. He is not the Prime Minister. Canadians are panicking because they see the government does not have a plan. That is why Canadians are getting upset.
They have an expectation. I think things have fundamentally changed since Donald Trump put out that tweet on Truth Social or wherever it was. It has fundamentally galvanized the country in terms of a single objective. And I think that there's an expectation that every single politician, that every single Canadian business leader actually work together to try and ward that off. And
we do have a single expectation, is to get rid of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. That is the expectation. And give Poilievre some leeway here to actually clean up this mess. Chrystia Freeland, I'm not going to show the clips here today, but she was asked numerous times about the budget, and she won't even tell. She won't tell us what the budget is, if there's a deficit, how big it is. She will not answer those questions. That is very disturbing. When a finance minister won't answer questions about the budget, this should have typically already been announced by now. She's going to wait until the very last days, closest to Christmas, to announce it, hoping Canadians won't notice. Can slip it under Santa's rug.
And for somebody to stand up there and to kind of pout about this, 10-point plan, 7-point plan, whatever, that rectifies his own mistakes of the past, fair ball. He's going to stand up. He's going to have some ideas. Great. But that doesn't absolve him from the fact that he should be working with the Prime Minister, with the other party leaders. If he's going to actually make that argument for Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump doesn't have to do that. He's got like a puppet up here that's clearly just spouting it all out anyway.
Well, this was I got to go to Françoise and give her the last word. And it was repeated at the Premier's meeting with the Prime Minister on Wednesday, because David Eby came out saying, well, we got all kinds of fentanyl coming into the Port of Vancouver. It's a problem.
Yeah, I wonder who is in charge of that. Maybe David Eby, for the last few years. Yet somehow boneheads of British Columbia here voted that guy back in. Apparently the people of British Columbia haven't figured it out yet, but if you vote in losers, you end up with problems in our country.
Let's get to January 20th and park this, because it fuels Trump. So, Françoise, I wonder about this.
That's what they're trying to do. They're going to try to get this to reopen Parliament, because right now nothing can get passed. And then they're going to blame Poilievre. We can't pass any funding for the border because Pierre Poilievre keeps filibustering the motion, blah, blah, blah. It comes down to it. If Trudeau and the Liberals want to move stuff in the House, they need to hand over the documents to the cops. That's what they got to do. This is going to get messy, though.
Mr. Poilievre may have a plan, and Canadians may think he's the best guy to deal with Donald Trump. He's not going to be the Prime Minister between now and January 20th unless something dramatic happens, which I don't think is going to happen. So
what about the 4 confidence motions coming? He has no faith in Jagmeet doing the right thing.
All the national leaders get together in the cabinet room. That's where they met, apparently. And they were all asked to not say things like the border is broken. And in about 45 seconds, Pierre Poilievre says the border is broken. And then he leads off question period about the broken border.
Right.
This is exactly the sort of thing they're all being asked not to do, because it helps the U.S. news cycle and helps the president-elect's argument.
Just listen to this woke garbage. Biased media, come on, man. Doing his best to try to help his buddy Trudeau.
Making comments about the border well before that meeting.
Sure.
He had also done an entire media availability on Sunday where he talked about what he would do to fix the border. So he's not just coming out and saying the border is a problem and it needs to be fixed. He's also outlining a path for how it could be fixed and actions that the government could take. So it's not just identification of a problem. There's also a solutions roadmap that he's identified. It's a little bit rich for them to say, please follow our message track when they've had so much time to try and clean up some of these problems and they haven't taken the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Right. But Françoise, there's like 40-something days until the 20th of January, which is the deadline for action from Canada to head off the tariffs. The premiers have kind of gotten on board with this.
They're trying to use a timeline here to squeeze it so they can kind of control everyone. Everyone just, let's huddle together and forget that Trudeau's destroying our country. Let's just go back here a bit. You see that entourage? Look at this entourage of photographers following Justin Trudeau around. So here, 1, 2, 3, 3 dudes with cameras following around Trudeau. This is ridiculous. Next up, we got a clip here of Elizabeth May saying something stupid again in Parliament.
Have to make sure we protect Canada from Trump's retaliation over things that aren't even true. And I think we also have to never give up on trying to convince Donald Trump that action on climate change is essential to protect the U.S. economy, too, and save U.S. lives. If he's interested in saving U.S. lives, there's a much bigger threat from the climate events than there is from whatever drugs are coming across the border.
Is she completely nuts? He's seen what's happening happen to our country. He's not going to impose a carbon tax in America and destroy America. He's an American patriot. He cares about America. Unlike Trudeau, who doesn't care about Canada, he's just using us to get rich, fleecing us any which way he can. Good luck with that. She must be drunk again. She must be drunk. Maybe she should go look at the streets and the morgues. Tell the alcoholic chipmunk May to shut it and have another drink. The comments here are not nice, Elizabeth May. I think it's time for her to step down. Like, enough is enough. She's in her 70s. Like, why isn't she retiring? So what we got next here is Vasi Kapellos. They're talking about the non-confidence vote, and specifically Vasi asks Tom Mulcair here about Jagmeet basically saying he's not going to be voting with the Conservatives, using his own words. We've got this article on CTV. It says NDP won't support Conservative non-confidence motion that quotes Singh, this dirty pension weasel Jagmeet Singh. So he's apparently not going to vote with it. NDP leader says he won't play Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's games by voting to bring down the government on upcoming non-confidence motion. Jagmeet Singh, it's all about that pension. It really is. I'm not going to be playing Pierre Poilievre's games. I have no interest in that. We're frankly not going to allow him to cut the things that people need. I want to actually have dental care expanded. I want people to actually start to benefit from pharmacare legislation we passed.
Sounds very much like he will continue voting with the government. Is that politically problematic for him if you listen to the way he's framing it?
Well, it's doubly problematic, obviously, because he went through such a show of saying 22 times in one press conference that he was tearing up the deal with the Liberals, up supporting them ever since. So at some point, it lost all meaning. But he's referring to things that he did get. That's positive. But long term, how does he go to the doorstep in the next campaign and say, don't vote for the Liberals, you know, they're no good, vote for us? And the question's going to be, well, if they're no good, why have you supported them for so many years? So it really is quite a difficult situation for the NDP. I think that Mr. Trudeau is playing it well. I think that he just simply keeps offering up the arguments that we're hearing there. I agree with Lisa when she says that that ship's already sailed. When you look at very basic things of public administration, like the massive increase in the public service with nothing to show for it, the really structural debt that we're dealing with and the deficit constantly in Canada, Canadians are tired of that. It is a serious situation. And frankly, Poilievre is so good in the House. He's very good at getting the 5-second clip. And it really is a question of 10 cents on a bag of chips for 8 weeks. And all the attendant costs for the shopkeeper who has to do and redo their cash registers, with very little to show long-term for the average Canadian voter. So
first off, what he mentioned there, having an extra CRA, all the government employees, Trudeau's doubled it. And as he said, what have we got for it? Do we have better service now? He's just doubled the cost of running the government. What he just mentioned there, 10 cents on the bag of chips. So the Conservatives did the math on this. I'll bring up a clip up next. This one here coming from Senator Don Plett. Within the first minute here of this 11-minute clip, he talks about how much Canadians are going to be saving with Justin Trudeau's 2-month tax trick, as Pierre Poilievre likes to call it. Take a guess. Spoiler alert, it's lower than you think.
I want to commend Senator Monsión for the very spirited defense of what has to be close to one of the worst bills that this government has ever presented. So I commend you, Senator Monsión, for the way you have handled this. You know, I find it ironic that the government is actually trying to defend C-78 as a fiscal stimulus. This tax break, colleagues, let's put this into perspective. This tax break works out to 63 cents for every Canadian for 63 days. That works out, the supercharge of the economy works out to $39.69 per Canadian. Wow.
$39.
A half a tank of gas.
A half a tank of gas.
The tax on half a tank of gas, the carbon tax on half a tank of gas.
It's funny, he said not even. Yeah, on Vancouver Island here where I live, that's not half a tank of gas. You're over $80 to fill up.
But one thing I do commend them for as well, they've actually finally found a bill that even every left-wing media outlet is opposed to. I haven't heard anybody that's supporting of this bill, including, I didn't hear a lot of accolades in this chamber here, and we are representing all sides here. And I do not believe that this government has a blind clue about how to steer us out of the ditch that they have driven us into. Under this Prime Minister, Canadians across the country have seen the cost of everything skyrocket and are asking what happened to the Canada they once knew. After 9 long, painful years under our current incompetent Prime Minister, supported by an incompetent NDP leader, seems to care more about his pension than the struggles of everyday citizens. We find ourselves in the midst of the worst affordability crisis in our nation's history. This government has saddled Canadians with more new debt than all previous governments combined.
Don Plett going scorched earth here. $39, folks. That's what we're going to save. $39. Amazing. What an absolute joke.